How do you want to check out of life? Do you want to limp out, slowly degrade over decades and impoverish the quality of your life? Or do you want to live it to its fullest, to its maximum, and then check out right at the end one day, fully optimized and energized? I know what I'd choose. That is going to be the topic of today's conversation. And I've been loving this week. It's nice to record these podcasts pretty much in real time. It is the Monday before we produced the podcast for the Tuesday, and over the last few days I've been back doing my lives on a daily basis on Instagram at 7 a.m. UK and 7:15-ish on Facebook, again on UK time. And it's been so lovely to connect with so many of you again, people that have been on this adventure with me for many, many years, and I've been fortunate enough to inspire, and maybe be a tiny piece of their story for many, many moons. I see again on the lives, and it's so joyous. It's something that I really miss, so I'm delighted that that's back on full time every day as best I can for a little bit of morning momentum and motivation. So if you enjoy this podcast, you'll love those lives as well. It's like a mini podcast every day, and you get to interact, and I love it when you comment and you get involved in those lives, because it brings the whole thing to life and it gives me something to bounce off as well, makes them a bit more fun. So I do appreciate your time and energy. Do come and join me on those lives. I think you'll really enjoy them. And before we get into today's conversation, just a reminder, this episode is brought to you by the Coach Business School, where we train the next wave of successful coaches. So if you're thinking about becoming a coach, go to coachbusiness.school. Take my foundation certificate in coaching. It's like a try before you buy. It's a tiny, tiny investment in your time to find out what it's like to be a coach, train as a coach, and get coached. You'll have all the information you need by the end of that short course, the foundational certificate in coaching, and you'll learn a ton and have a ton of fun, and we get to train together live in the virtual world, which is cool. And also, if you are a qualified coach, check out our specialisms. We have alcohol-free performance coach, we have ADHD coaching coming up, and you also can train with me on my MBA for qualified coaches, which is all about marketing and business and growing the coaching business of your dreams. Marvelous. Oh, and one other thing to mention. If you go to andyramage.com under courses, we have 2 free courses on there that you might really enjoy. One is how to train your brain, which is all about running your mind, because if you don't run your mind better, you're going to get left behind. And one is called the Alcohol-Free Advantage. Again, these are both free courses. Wherever you are on your alcohol-free adventure, you will love those courses. One more thing, I'm running my first ever live limitless self-development course in London very, very soon, and there's only 3 spaces left. So if you're interested in coming to train with me live in London in March, do check that out. Go to courses, andyramage.com, courses, unleash your limitless. You'll see all the details there. There's just 3 spaces left. All right, let's get into today's conversation. This really is born out of a reflection that I had with a guy called Christian Dailly. Christian Dailly is a former West Ham professional Premiership footballer, captain of Scotland, played in the World Cup, all-round great guy, one of the best physical trainers, sports scientists I've ever worked with. He's a genius at simplicity. He really is, and I love that, right? I think that's really courageous, and I've tried to embody that in everything I've done in my life, is that it takes courage to do the simple things. For example, in the world of personal training, for example, I think there's always that sense of a fear around, value for money. So many personal trainers will get you jumping and leaping and leaping and pulling and pushing and playing with every gadget and machine in the gym, when someone like Christian comes along that's done all the pushing and pulling and played with every gadget in the gym and understands how everything works, and then says, do you know what? You don't need to do any of that. Just do a deadlift. Genius, right? And do it well, and do it at these weights, and set it up in this way, and you'll create way more impact than you ever will by pushing and pulling and jumping and twisting and playing with all the latest and greatest machines. Just do a deadlift. And I really resonate with that. And it was transformative in my own physical transformation, learning from someone at that level, and also seeing it up close, the courage to go, no, we're not going to do all the bells and whistles. We're just going to do this really simple thing. And I'm going to show you how to do this really simple thing and do it really well. And on the back of that, again, for me, it's a practice now that some 7-8 years later, I pretty much do every day because of that training and that learning that I got from Christian, which is really impactful and really powerful. And there was something else that we discussed one day, and he had this real theory, and both are alcohol-free. Christian doesn't drink as well because he, again, is at the elite level in terms of health, physical fitness. He knows the research, he's seen the science, the same as me. There's nowhere in a million years anyone that is really, really serious about ultimate health and ultimate success in many ways would drink. You just wouldn't do it. It's not compatible with a lifestyle such as that. But part of that story, he drew this graph once that I really liked, and effectively it charted the very average sort of life expectancy of the average person. And bearing in mind the average person drinks, right? Because most people do. And it was that sort of a line that looked like it was healthy and flourishing, so it went up during those sort of 20s and, you know, those teen years when it doesn't matter what we do, what we put inside our body or how we exercise. Invariably, for the average person, you're still relatively in good health and good shape. Of course, this is completely generalized, but you'll get the idea in a second. And then what tends to happen, we get into our 30s, maybe we sort of limp into our 40s, that classic sort of middle-age sort of meh spread starts to happen. We don't exercise in the way that we do. We don't train our mind in the way that we once did. We don't expand our mind. We have the same beliefs, the same ideas. We get caught in the same patterns of thinking. We read the same papers. We generally get a bit stuck. We have more of a fixed mindset. So we stop challenging ourselves and getting outside of our comfort zone. We develop this big comfort bubble that we tend to get stuck in. And that is the same for most of our 30s and 40s. And then, of course, drink is playing a more and more prevalent role in our life, even as an average middle lane drinker, like I'm always talking to. And then with that, of course, lifestyle disease starts to kick in. Maybe it's in our 50s or 60s. Or 70s or whatever it looks like. Again, we're generalizing, and there's this sort of slow degradation of life. Fitness, muscle wastage, general health starts to decline. And yes, technically, because of medical advancement, we might be able to stay alive a lot longer than we could 50 or 100 years ago. But what is the real quality of that life? And if you can imagine that graph, that it was sort of peaking in our teens and 20s, slowly starts to like dip in maybe to our 70s, maybe we reach early 80s, and then it's time for us to exit this short and precious life of ours. But the quality of that time for that last decade or 2 or 3 or more is completely diminished by those lifestyle choices. Now, on the face of it, you might think it's everything to do with exercise or nutrition or strength training. I'm going to make a really strong argument. There's one key element in that I think is the major factor behind that chart, that degradation of so many adults, that limping out of life, and it's alcohol. Teddy Roosevelt, the great American president, once said, get 2 choices in life. You can choose to wear out or rust out. I choose to wear out. I love that saying. And I think what alcohol's doing, it's causing so many of us to rust out. We just limp along. We get through it. Survival mode. Our body slowly rusts from the inside out due to the poison that is alcohol. And it's those knock-on consequences that at the time don't seem too devastating, but over time are completely debilitating. Such as the fact that when we're drinking alcohol and we're hungover, we don't exercise as much. I mean, like, just really like binary things. We are much less likely to hit the gym if we're hungover. That's just a fact, isn't it? We're much less likely to do the workout if we're hungover, right? I was lucky enough to speak to Joe Wicks about this years ago. Joe Wicks, the long-haired little legend that is trying to get the UK moving most of the time. And at that point, he was still quite early in his career, and he was still doing a lot more in terms of individual training. And he said, like, the number one issue that we always have, the number one excuse for people not doing their workout is hangovers, right? Always has been, always will be. So it's those little moments combined over time. What happens to your nutrition? when you're a bit hungover. Like, it goes from optimal to awful really quickly, doesn't it? Like, that well-intended salad, healthy lunch becomes burger and chips. We've all been there, right? So many, and I'm going to say like 1,000,000 times, but that's the truth, isn't it, that I'm getting into? We've been there so many times. When you start to compound that over time, it's totally debilitating. Now, again, if it was a one-off event, it wouldn't matter in the scheme of things. If we had one like big blowout with alcohol where we woke up the next day and then we ate rubbish food and we didn't exercise, genuinely, it's not going to make a difference, is the truth of it. But no one ever does that. No one drinks for a year and then stops, do they? People start drinking in their teens and never stop, is the truth of it. For most people, never ever stop, ever. Therefore, that constant diminishment and degradation of health and momentum combined over enough years leads to that rusting out, leads to that limping out of life, that graph that slowly, like a ski slope, goes down and down and down and down and down. Quality of life diminished the whole way through. Some of the best years of your life, the years that maybe people have worked so hard for, those retirement years, for example, they've done all the work, they've slaved away in their career, they retire, but their body is such a poor quality because of their average relationship with alcohol. Everything started to waste away, their mind, their muscles, and it's a limp out of life. And the only thing that seems to bring a little bit of spark and joy and momentum and energy back into the world are a couple of glasses of vino collapso that keep you even more trapped, that slowly inches you lower and lower and lower. It's the truth, isn't it? I know I'm speaking the truth with this, and it's a truth that we have to see in advance, because if we don't, it catches us out. Because it's so subtle and so slow, we don't notice it happening. And then one day we wake up in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, and realise that actually we're struggling. And the quality of our life, the richness that we could have brought into our life has been so diminished for all of those years because of those nothingy drinks plonked in front of the TV on a Tuesday night, drinking vino collapso, dressed up in the name of relaxation, which doesn't actually help you relax, which causes more stress. What are we doing? Now, let's flip the script and get excited while we're flipping the script. Doesn't matter where you are on your life adventure, the greatest gift you can ever give yourself is that consistency and clarity of body and mind again. That is why I'm such a big believer in going alcohol free. I would argue, and I am biased, it is the most important concept in health and wellness right now, bar none. Nothing competes with it. Running's important, exercise is important, nutrition's important, meditation's important. All these things are important, but none of them are as important as the average drinker taking a break or removing alcohol. None of those other things. They can't compete. And the reason they can't compete, for all the reasons I just mentioned, because it's the cornerstone of poor health or the cornerstone of optimal health. What do you want to choose? I know I want to choose. I want to wear out. Now, if we go back to Christian's diagram, and he would draw this in, and I used to love it. So we'd have the first diagram as mentioned. You know, you sort of get the peak into your 20s, and then slowly, like a ski slope, it comes off and off and off as the quality of your life is diminished through being an average human, right? Poor food, lack of quality exercise and strength, combined with alcohol, diminish, boom, you're out. Now, redraw the diagram, and where you peak up in your 20s, that peak, that high line, remains high the whole way through, all the way, one day, boom, drops off a cliff. You check out, you wave goodbye, you meet death with a firm step because you've absolutely maximized your time on this planet. There is little or no diminishment or degradation of your vibrancy, your health, your energy, your strength, your purpose, because you gave yourself the best possible opportunity to live that life. Of course, we're generalizing here and there's no guarantees about anything, but you get the point that I'm making here. And it's so true, isn't it, when you lean into it? How do you want to check out of this short and precious life? Do you want to rust out or wear out? The choice is yours, because here's the thing about alcohol. It's the cornerstone, as I mentioned, of poor health or optimal health. When you remove it, you give yourself your consistency back. Now, all of a sudden, your well-intended intention to exercise is much more likely to happen. Compound that over decades. Your well-intended intention to eat the salad rather than a burger actually happens. Compound that over a decade or two. It's the same compound interest in reverse. Rather than it being the compound interest that degrades your life, it optimizes your life, because all those little moments add together. So suddenly the salads build on the salads, the exercise builds on the exercise, the mental clarity, the better mental health gives you more energy, time, oomph to get out there and collide with this short and precious life. You look better, you feel better, you smile more, your body is stronger, you can lift the grandkids, you can still hike the mountain in your 70s and 80s. Why not? That's the life that you want to lead, rather than limping out of it and being bedridden, bedbound, stuck in a chair all your life, drinking vino collapso to try and feel a little bit better when you are up the top of a mountain in your 80s and 90s. Why not? Who says you can't? The one thing that will get in the way of that most likely is alcohol. So when you remove it, that strength comes back, that health comes back, that momentum comes back. So your reflection on today's little conversation is this. It's really simple. How do you want to go about checking out of this short and precious life? The choice, to a large degree, is yours. Let me know how you feel about today's little conversation, if they are helping. Soon I'll be bringing some guests back into the podcast room to have some chats in the showroom. Until then, I shall keep you entertained with these little conversations in between. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to hit the follow button, subscribe, whatever you need to do so you don't miss another conversation just like this. And if you enjoy these podcast episodes, do come and watch me live. I'm live every day, every single day. 7 a.m. on Instagram, 7:15 a.m.-ish on Facebook. Basically, as soon as I finish the Instagram, I go into Facebook. Sometimes it's 7:10, sometimes it's 7:15. You get the point. I'll be on there to cheer you on, to come up with little insights and reflections. And I love it when you get involved and you contribute also. It makes my day and it makes the whole experience of that community even more exciting and interesting. And don't forget, if you enjoy these podcasts, do go to andyramage.com. On there you'll see courses, free courses, FREE courses. There's 2 of them. There's the Alcohol Free Advantage course. Wherever you are on your alcohol free adventure, you will love that course. And also brain training course. Train your mind, don't get left behind. That's the secret. That's a great little course that you'll also enjoy. And don't forget, I have 3 spaces left on my Limitless, Unleash Your Limitless live in London course. Go and check that out under the courses tab if you want to come and train with me in March live in London. You will love that course if you enjoy these podcasts. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Keep rocking it on your life adventure. I shall see you soon. Andy.